set, go.
Welcome to another week of Chi Alpha Live. We're so glad you guys are with us. Wherever you're at, I just encourage you guys to get into a posture of worship. Maybe that means just like sitting down on your bed or on your floor or wherever. Maybe that means standing up. Maybe that means like laying down. I don't know, whatever that looks like get alone with you and God for a few moments as we worship. We're going to be doing a new song today. It's called Champion. Maybe you guys have heard it, but it's one that we've never sung before at Chi Alpha. And I really love this song because it's an anthem declaring that God is our champion, that regardless of what we face, regardless of what we go through, that He is the one that carries us through it all, and that there's power when we declare Him as our champion and give Him that place in our lives. And so if you know this song, I encourage you to sing along. If you don't, just listen to these words and let them wash over you as we sing today. tried so hard to see it. It took me so long to believe it, that you choose someone like me to carry your victory. Perfection could never earn it. You give what we don't deserve, and you take the broken things and raise them to glory. You are my champion. Giants fall where you stand undefeated. Every battle you've won. I am who you say I am. You crown me with confidence. I am seated in the heavenly place, undefeated, with the one who has conquered it all. Oh, now I can finally see it. You're teaching me how to receive it. So let all the striving cease. Oh, this is my victory. You are my champion. Giants fall where you stand undefeated. Every battle you won, I am, and I am who you say I am. You crown me with confidence. I am seated in the heavenly place, undefeated, with the one who has conquered it all. Oh, you've conquered it all. Yes, we declare it. We declare it. Sing when I lift. And when I lift my voice and shout, every wall comes crashing down. I have the authority Jesus has given me. When I open up my mouth, miracles start breaking down. I have the authority that Jesus has when I lift. And when I lift my voice and shout, every wall comes crashing down. I have the authority Jesus has given me. When I open up my mouth, miracles start breaking out. I have the authority that Jesus has given me. You are my champion. Giants fall where you stand. I am defeated. Every battle you won. And I am who you say I am. You crown me with confidence. I am seated in the heavenly place, undefeated, with the one who has conquered it all. Oh, you've conquered it all. Sing when I lift. And when I lift my voice and shout, every wall comes crashing down. I have the authority that Jesus has given me. And when I open up my mouth, miracles
is the place where you promised to be. I'm not enough unless you come. Will you meet me here again? 'Cause all I want is all you are. Will you meet me here again? Will you meet me here again? Oh, as I walk now through the valley, let your love
God. We claim freedom over our lives, God. Jesus, you say in your word that where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. So God, wherever you are, there is freedom. There is hope. There is freedom beyond what we can see. There is hope beyond our circumstances, God. God, I just pray that anyone who's watching tonight, anyone who's tuning in, that wherever they're at, that they would know that you are ready to meet them, whether they feel closer to you than ever before or whether they don't know you at all, God. God, I thank you that you are close to us, that you run to us when we need you, Jesus. So would you run to anyone who needs you tonight, God? Would you wrap them in your arms and not let go, God? Remind them that you're with them tonight. We love you, Jesus. In your name, amen.
Hey, Chi Alpha. Man, I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys are having a good week so far and a good semester. Man, I hope you guys are finding encouragement in friendships and relationships and connections. I know we just spent most of February, a good chunk of February, talking about relationships, everything from romantic to brotherhood, sisterhood. And I just really want to encourage you guys, and especially in times like this where sometimes we're separated by screens or a pandemic or whatever craziness you have going on, that, man, God built us for relationship, and he built us to be in relationship and connected and not isolated. So I just encourage you guys, man, if you're feeling isolated, if you're feeling outside of relationship and connection, to reach out, man. Reach out to friends around you in Chi Alpha, or reach out to your Connect group leader, whoever God's placed there, man, reach out. We'd love to connect with you. We'd love to help you be better connected with more people. And we look forward to hopefully times coming soon where we can be back in person for more events and more things happening. But even aside from that, man, just reach out, be connected, be part of things. Even if it doesn't totally feel like your jam, what's happening, I just encourage you, like, go get online, sign up for that event, go to that hike, go to the worship night, go to the things that are happening so you can connect with people. So anyways, that's kind of a side note, little side story, what I'd love to see you guys do as we're kicking off March. March is going to be kind of a missions focused month. And before you immediately zone out and tune me out and say, I'm not called to missions, I'm not called to go live in some third world country and help bring drinking water to people. I don't know, maybe you are, but for a lot of you probably who are saying, that's not my thing, that's not my gig, hang in there with us, because what I hope is that in this month, what you might discover is that God's heart for missions is really about his heart for you to live a purposed and intentional, or as I like to call it, an on mission life. That, man, you would live out your life for the purposes and the mission of making God's name known and sharing the love of Christ wherever you're at, whether that's in a Fortune 500 company, whether that's running your own landscaping business, whether that's living overseas and actually doing vocational ministry, which that's just a fancy way of saying being a missionary full time. Whatever it is, man, we hope that this month can maybe spark some thought and some intentionality in your life to wanting to be part of that, man, to wanting to dive in. And so I think what better place to start at than to ask ourselves the question, well, what does the Bible say? What does God actually say about missions? I think we all, or most of us, I won't say all of us, I'm sure there's some that haven't seen it, and that's fine. But the Great Commission, a lot of us have heard from Scripture, therefore go and make disciples of all nations. That kind of becomes the verse that we hang on for missions. It becomes sort of that place we go. We're like, okay, well, God has made that a commandment. He said, go and make disciples of all nations, that we're supposed to, like, that's what we get behind. And maybe our church had a missions convention or a conference that we went to or whatever. And that was kind of the theme or the background. And so we know, like, man, we're going to be part of this mission of God. And that's good. I'm not knocking that at all. It is true. God has commanded us as his kids, as those who love him, to go and to make him known, to bring glory to him. That's true. But I want to look a little more broad than just that one verse, because I think, man, if we're gonna decide to live our lives on purpose or on mission for something, we need to do it for something more than just one verse. Because if you're gonna hang what you're doing with your entire life on one verse, yeah, man, that's gonna be a hard thing to do. So I'd love to kind of take a little broader look at that. So hopefully you guys can bear with me. We're gonna do this fairly quickly. I'll be referencing my notes a lot, just to hopefully keep this on track and do this a lot quicker. But I want to look at the entire Bible, all 66 books. Don't worry, we're not going through all of them, but I want to look start to finish. Man, what is the theme? What is the story? Because if you think that the Bible is just a bunch of disjointed books, disconnected, stories that have all been written or books that have been written, it's not. There is a theme. There is a thread. And I believe that one of the biggest themes, the biggest thread, that honestly the one that runs throughout, is God's desire to draw his people back to him. His desire, basically his mission, that everyone would know him, that his name would be glorified, that people would be drawn to him, give their lives to him in this entire world that he created. So we're going to dive in and take a look at that. So if you start basically in Genesis, I'm just going to start right off the bat. Man, God is creating the world, is creating man, has created Adam and Eve. And in Genesis 1:28, God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and multiply, to fill the earth. And so right off the bat, God's giving this command, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth. He's telling Adam that. And so why is he telling him that? Why isn't it just, hey, chill in the Garden of Eden, do your thing? Well, it's because at that time, Adam was walking daily with God. He was in close relationship with God. God knew that what would come forth from Adam was a worshiper's heart, that anybody that interacted with Adam would gain that same understanding of loving God and worshiping God. And God knew that his goal and his aim was to draw all people to him. So right away, he's saying, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, saying like, take your heart that you have and fill this earth that I've created. And so as we move forward, we see that sin creeps in a little later in Genesis. Things start to get a little messed up, booted out of the Garden of Eden. People, they're spreading out. They know that life is going to be more difficult at this point. And that progression continues until a point where God decides he's had enough. And he actually decides that he's going to destroy all of his creation. He's going to destroy the whole thing. But he decides to spare Noah and his family. He sees in Noah that same, I think, worshiper's heart that was in Adam. And he decides, man, I'm saving this guy. This is going to be the guy that takes my story forward, that takes my goal, my mission forward. And so in Genesis 9:1, this is just as they're coming out of the flood and coming kind of reestablishing, coming out of the boat. Genesis 9:1 says, Then God blessed Noah and his sons, saying to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. Sounds familiar, right? Same thing to Adam, starting off there. Same thing to Noah, starting off there. God is saying, this is my purpose. Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. He doesn't want Noah to just settle down, build a little city, hang, do his thing. He wants Noah to understand that the vision is greater than that the vision is bigger than that. And then we'll jump ahead to Genesis 11, verses 1 through 4. It says, Now the whole world had one language and a common speech. As men moved eastward, they found a plain in Shinar and settled there. Then they said, Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens, so that we may make a name for ourselves and not be scattered over the face of the whole earth. So you guys may be familiar with or have heard the Tower of Babel. This is what was happening. People were spreading across, and they came to a certain point, and they're like, you know what? We want to make a name for ourselves here. We want to establish ourselves here, kind of forgetting the original vision and purpose God had given. I mean, they weren't necessarily directly told that like Noah was. And so it had kind of dissipated, I'm sure. And they decided, we are building this tower, and man, we are going to, we're going to achieve something great. Almost kind of the same thing of where Adam sat at and said, I want to be like God. I want to know these things. And so obviously, that's not God's plan. That's not his heart. And so in Genesis 11:7-8, it says, this is God saying, come, let us go down and confuse their language so they will not understand each other. So the Lord scattered them from there over all the earth, and they stopped building the city. So this is how much that this be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth is God's desire in his heart. So much so that when he saw people stopping that and doing something different, he literally said, hey, let's go down there. Let's confuse these guys' speech, because it was just one language. They all connected, knew each other, and we'll just scatter them. If they're not going to listen and do what I wanted, then I'm just going to scatter them. I'm going to do it myself. So that's kind of the introduction, man. We get the idea that God's story, the beginning, the introduction of his story is be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. That he wants his presence, his name known and worshiped throughout the earth. So then we find ourselves in the plot, man. And this is basically like Genesis 12 through Jude. I mean, it's the majority. This is the plot. So Genesis 12, 1-3, the Lord had said to Abram, who would later be called Abraham, if you're wondering who that is, you might be more familiar with the name Abraham. The Lord had said to Abram, leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to the land I will show you. I will bless you, and all peoples on earth will be blessed through you. So he's literally showing up with Abram and telling him, hey, leave everything that you know, continue moving. He's continuing his plan and his purpose. I want you to keep spreading out. And then in Genesis 12:4, something kind of crazy happens. It says, so Abram left as the Lord told him. He actually obeyed God. God showed up, said, I want you to go. I want you to continue on. And Abram actually did it. Crazy thought, especially I think nowadays, man, we're so in tune with our own plans, our own things. How many of us, if God showed up today and said, I want you to move, I want you to go, it would take some second thought. It wouldn't be so Shawn left and went where God said. Like I would hope that it would be. Anyways, that's just to say I find that interesting and cool that literally just says, so Abram left as the Lord told him. Like, man, he did it. He just took off. And Abram was told, God had told him in Genesis 12, 1-3, I will bless you, and all the peoples on earth will be blessed through you. Like God had told him that, had promised them that. And the cool thing is that then we see in Genesis 26:4, God making this same promise to Abraham at this point now, his name's been changed, to Abraham's son Isaac. He says, I will make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky, and will give them all these lands, and through your offspring, all nations on earth will be blessed. So God is continuing this theme, saying that through my people, and this is the Israelites basically, those were God's people, that all nations would be blessed. That was God's plan, to spread out, just like from the beginning when he told Adam to go. He knew, man, people that are following me, whose hearts are mine, are going to impact the world in that way, and I want them spread out there. I want them to be fruitful, and I want all nations to be blessed through them. And to Isaac's son Jacob in Genesis 28:14, we see God saying, your descendants will be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. All peoples on earth will be blessed through you and your offspring. So that blessing that he gave Abraham first, he's continuing through the generations after him. And you see the Old Testament from there on, you just see different times and different ways where God is using Israel to make his name great among the nations, to spread really who he is among the nations. He's using Israel. First off, we see in the Ten Commandments, when the Ten Commandments are given, in Deuteronomy 4, 5, and 6, it says, observe them carefully. God's telling them this about the Ten Commandments. It says, observe them carefully, for this will show your wisdom and understanding to the nations. Who will hear about all these decrees and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. Um, so right there, he's saying, man, if you follow these commandments, if you follow what I've given you, people are going to see that and say, surely this nation, this is a great nation, is wise and understanding people. Like it's going to spread who God is, who his people are. And then his reputation spreads through the parting of the Red Sea. We see in Joshua 2, 9 through 10, and this is Rahab speaking, I know that the Lord has given this land to you, and that a great fear of you has fallen on us. We have heard how the Lord dried up the water of the Red Sea for you when you came out of Egypt. So basically, before they're even, man, it's spreading. The word of what God has done for his people, what he's done in parting the Red Sea is spreading. Like, it's just the continuation of his desire for the knowledge of him to spread throughout the earth. And then again, with Solomon, who was considered the wisest man ever, and his wisdom in 1 Kings 4:34, it says, men of all nations came to listen to Solomon's wisdom, sent by all the kings of the world who had heard of his wisdom. And then again, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, if you guys have heard that story of them being thrown in the fiery furnace by Nebuchadnezzar, in Daniel 3:29, it says, therefore I, Nebuchadnezzar, decree that the people of any nation or language who say anything against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be cut into pieces. For no other God can save in this way. So he's declaring, I mean, he's not even an Israelite. He's not even one of God's people, but he's been so impacted by God saving Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego when they were thrown into the fiery furnace that he's like, this God has to be amazing. And again, God using his people to show who he is, to bring people to him. And again, Daniel in the lion's den, one last example kind of from the Old Testament. In Daniel 6:26, it says, this is King Darius, I, Darius, issue a decree that in every part of my kingdom, people must fear and reverence the God of Daniel. Same thing. He saw how incredible God was that he saved Daniel in the lion's den. And he's like, we need to worship this God. We need to revere this God. And yeah, so there's many more examples. Those are just some that I pulled. But then as we roll into the New Testament, the plot continues and the plot thickens, if you will, as Jesus comes on the scene. So in Mark chapter 11, verses 15 through 17, it says, on reaching Jerusalem, Jesus entered the temple area designated for the Gentiles to worship, and he found people buying and selling there. As he drove them out, saying, is it not written, my house will be called a house of prayer for all nations? And the last part of that, I think, is the key in there. He's saying, my house will be called a house of prayer for all nations. He's highlighting that again, man. This is going to be every people group, every tribe, tongue, nation, from across the world. And then in Matthew 24:14, when it gives the sign of Jesus' return, it says, and this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. So literally saying what will bring the end, what will usher in the return of Christ that we all hope for and long for, literally is God's purpose and plan of filling the entire earth with who he is and people that worship him and follow him, that's what's going to bring Jesus' return. And then in Jesus' ministry in Luke 4:42 and 43, it says, they tried to keep him from leaving them, but he said, I must preach the good news of the kingdom of God to the other towns also, because that is why I was sent. So again, he's saying, I have to go from place to place. I've been sent not just to be in one place and bless one people, but to go, that it would spread, man, that it would go throughout the earth. And then Jesus gives a mandate to his followers. In Mark 16:15, we read, go into all the world and preach the good news to all creation. So again, God is saying, through Jesus, who's saying, continue this, go into the whole world, preach this good news. And the good news was Jesus, obviously, is that what Jesus brings, the salvation Jesus brings now is tangible, and people can see, hey, this is the one, this is the Messiah. And he's telling his followers, go tell people about this. I want the whole world to know about this. And then the book of Acts, as we move forward in is basically just a testimony and the account of the gospel spreading more, man, spreading to the ends of the earth. And in Acts 1:8, it says, "But you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes on you, and you will be my witnesses in Jerusalem and in all Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth." So it's saying literally, again, that's the whole point, is to be, you're going to receive power to be his witnesses to the ends of the earth. And in Acts 9:15, it says, "Go, this man," talking about Paul, "is my chosen instrument to carry my name before the Gentiles." And that's basically kind of this beginning of a missionary force of really missions as we know it today, of being sent out, man, to share the gospel, to share the good news, to preach the gospel. So that's the plot, man. Those are the things that's happening. God's saying, I want you to be fruitful, to multiply, to fill the earth. And then it's coming down as that's happening through Abraham, through his sons, through Noah, through all these different characters that we read about, and then into the New Testament with Jesus and with the disciples and Paul and his missionary journeys, and Timothy, who he raises up, and all of these different amazing people that we read about. Then the conclusion. So what is the conclusion to all this? We see the conclusion comes in Revelation, and in Revelation 7:9, it says, "After this I looked, and there before me was a great multitude that no one could count, from every nation, tribe, people, and language, standing before the throne and in front of the Lamb." So this is a picture of what's to come. Man, we haven't gotten there yet, but this is a picture from Revelation of what's to come. I'm going to read it again. It says, "After this I looked, and there before me was a great multitude that no one could count, from every nation, tribe, people, and language, standing before the throne and in front of the Lamb." It's important, man, that we understand what that means. That if there is every nation, tribe, people, and language standing before God, worshiping God before his throne, then that means, man, that is God's intention. That's the conclusion. That's what's going to happen. He's not going to let the story fall short. He's not going to leave people groups out. But through his word, we see we are the hands and feet that he's called to do that, to spread that. And so I just kind of wanted, I know that was quick, man. I know it was bam, 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 like to go through the entire Bible just by a handful of verses and say, but what I'm hoping is that you guys catch the theme in that overall it's really that theme of missions. It's really that theme of the heart of God to be known throughout the earth, and that hasn't changed, man. The pandemic doesn't change that. Politics of our country don't change that. Situations around the world, nothing changes that. Nothing changes that. God's intention in his heart remains the same, that all people would know him. And so as we dive into this more, this March, you're going to get the chance to hear from some missionaries that we work with in Thailand when we're not in pandemic phases. And we'll be going and taking a team, hopefully, not this coming summer, but the following summer. Hopefully we'll be able to take a team back to them if travel's opened up. There's other missionaries and places that we work and that we work with, but I thought these guys, we've been working with them for a few years, Johnny and Andrea Pangelina, and some of you guys may know them or recognize that name. They're going to share a little bit of what it's like to be living as missionaries, man, to give their lives overseas in Thailand where they're at. And then we're going to have a few other people, a friend of mine who he's in the workforce, man, but he lives missionally in the workforce. And so I want him to share with you guys what it is that draws his heart to be like that, to live on mission within the workforce, within his normal job, his daily life. And going to have a former Chi Alpha student who is actually overseas right now as well. A single female who's overseas, who's going to share with you guys, who she sat where you sit, man. She knows the deal. And God called her, and she said, okay, she went. And so I want you guys to hear that story and hear how that's impacted her heart and her life and where she's at. And we're also going to have a couple sharing with you guys about, at the end of the month, about what it's like to live missionally through your family. Every aspect of what you're given, whether it's your job, your relationships, the place you live, Man, you have a sphere of influence. You have people around you that you can impact for the gospel. And so when I say missions, or we talk about missions, I don't want you guys to automatically think, okay, that's just the going. I want you to focus more within that Great Commission I talked about of making disciples. That wherever you're at, man, it's more about making disciples. And that's just a fancy way for saying, I'm going to take the things Jesus has done in me and I'm going to impart them in the people around me. I'm going to love people around me out of the love that Christ has shown me. And so this whole month, man, as we do that, as we dive into this, I hope you guys will come with us on this journey and see what it means to live a life on mission for Jesus. One quick thing I want to throw out there, that this is kind of our theme within Chi Alpha that we stick with, and it is every student goes, every student gives, every student prays, and every student welcomes. Again, that's every student goes, every student gives, every student prays, and every student welcomes. If you're like, hey, what are you talking about, man? Well, what we're saying with that is that every student goes at least once in your 4 years. We challenge you, we dare you to go overseas, to go serve somewhere, to come with us and see what it is like to go be in the footsteps of missionaries, people that are making it happen around the globe, who are following that call of Jesus. Most of you guys will probably not end up living that way, but you never know. You may go and God may touch your heart and say, I want to redirect you. I want to do something. And so we challenge you that you would go sometime during your 4 years, that you would go with us overseas. Every student gives. Man, missionaries can't be out there. People can't be focusing their intention and their life and their purpose on sharing the gospel if people don't help fund them to do that. And so we want to challenge you guys early. If you have $1 to your name, God may want you to give part of that, because one day you may have $1 million to your name. And if you start now intentionally giving towards the things that are the pursuit of God's heart, you'll be doing it then. If you say, man, I'll do that when, fill in the blank, I'll do that when I get a better job, when I have more, you won't. If you don't start that habit now, you won't develop that habit later. So every student goes, every student gives. Man, we want you guys giving to missions, giving to people that are sharing the love of God, giving to projects that are God's heart, man, that there may be something you hear about or read about where you're like, man, these guys are going and they're helping provide a safe way out of human trafficking. I want to give towards that, or whatever it might be. And then every student prays. Straightforward, man. It's not rocket science. That you would develop a heart for the world, and you would pray into that heart for the world to see God change things around the world. Man, you develop that as part of your spiritual disciplines, part of your regular life, that you are praying for the world. I myself, and that looks like different things. I myself have a 2 Thai baht dollar kind of thing in my wallet. It's just currency from over there. But what it does, and the reason I put it there, is it reminds me, man, when I open my wallet to go pay for something, if I have half a second, I'm praying. I'm saying, God, would you work powerfully over there, the places that we've been, through Johnny and Andrea, through the people that we know over there. Man, every student prays. You guys have developed that heart to do that. And then every student welcomes. And look around you. God has brought the nations to this campus. Even in a pandemic, the nations are still coming to this campus. You have the opportunity to befriend people, to love on people, to show them what it is that Jesus has done in your life, man. And this isn't about, none of this with missions, in my opinion, is about going out and arguing some truth and battling with somebody about who's smarter, who's figured out. If you can argue somebody into the kingdom, somebody smarter than you can come argue them out of it. So this is about, man, showing the reality of the life and relationship that you have in Christ to people around you, and giving them opportunity to respond to that, man. It's not a forced thing. It's just saying, I want to know you. I want to be your friend, and I want you to actually get to know me for real and what I'm about and what I think and who I love, and I love Jesus. So again, every student goes, every student gives, every student prays, every student welcomes. So thank you guys for taking this quick little jaunt through the Bible with me, the story of the Bible. We're going to have some discussion, some questions. And I'm praying that this would be an incredible month, man, to really kickstart a heart for missions in all of us, that we would want to see God's purposes fulfilled throughout the world, man, for the rest of our lives, wherever we're at, that we want to intentionally pursue the heart of God to be fruitful and multiply and fill this earth with people who worship him and love him. So thank you guys.
And you have been, and you will be. You have seen, and you will see. You